Hello and welcome to The Money Trench, the music industry podcast with me, Mark Sutherland. It may be the height of summer, but TMT is still at its workstation, bringing you another edition of the best music industry podcast, whether you're in the office or at the beach. Our next TMT Tuesday showcase is almost here in association with App Venue, the leading live events platform for touring artists, venues and festivals. Join us at the Victoria in Dalston on August the 18th, when Indoor Foxes, Bieber and Jolay will be playing in partnership with our friends at Fierce Panda, of course. Check the TMT newsletter and socials for all the details. The Money Trench is supported by SOUNDON. SOUNDON is TikTok's all-in-one music distribution and promotion platform for artists and labels. Go to soundon.global to find out more and check out the SOUNDON Track of the Week in the TMT newsletter. And the Money Trench is also supported by TIXEL, the honest ticket exchange and waitlist, helping artists own their audience and protect fans from touts. Go to TIXEL.com to find out more and check out the TIXEL Gig of the Week in the TMT newsletter. And we support Earth%, the music industry's climate foundation. Check earth%.org for all the details. And this week, we're in TYX Studios, where we're joined by one of the most influential figures in the live music business. She started off as a dancer, but now has over 15 years' experience across e-commerce and ticketing for live music and entertainment, and is responsible for shifting millions of gig tickets every year. Please welcome the Managing Director of Ticketmaster UK, Sarah Slater.
Morning.
Hello, Sarah. Welcome to the show. How's your music week been?
Well, it's been brilliant because I love this time of year because, you know, I can get out of behind a computer and Excel sheets, get into the fields, see some live music. Been a bit interrupted with the start of the school holidays, which we are managing with complete efficiency and a bit of help from ChatGPT on the planning schedule. But yeah, no, it's been great.
Which is harder to organise, school holidays or massive outdoor live events?
Oh, it's difficult. I reckon you got to go school holidays with the planning that's involved in them and the kids.
Okay, well, you're lucky you've got the experience of doing the events. But and what's the best thing you've seen so far this summer?
Gosh, there has been a lot. I mean, we're going to come on to the quickfire round later, aren't we? So I need to hold one of them back for that. Yeah. I suppose like Latitude, we did Latitude a couple of weekends ago. So take the family to that every year. Looked after very well by Melvin. And it's just a great weekend full of live music. Get to see a lot of people, see a lot of art stuff as well as the music. So yeah, it's just great to, experience those festivals. When you're working on them all year, getting into the field, especially with family, is really special.
Very nice, very nice. Well, let's see what the rest of the music biz has been up to with our roundup of the latest industry headlines. And our first story comes from NME and concerns festival season. UK events may be sweltering in the heat wave, but Lollapalooza in Chicago was hit by floods at the weekend. The weather caused significant disruption, with sets by the likes of Wolf Alice shortened or cancelled. Sarah, the US and UK festivals seem to swap weather this summer. What's going on? They've got floods and we've got blistering heat.
I know, it's tricky, isn't it? I mean, and this is why you have such tremendous teams working behind the scenes that are, looking after these festivals and making sure everything runs as smoothly as it can. We looking at the UK, obviously not involved in the Lollapalooza, but looking at the UK, I know that, with Camp Festival that happened this weekend, with the dry weather that we've seen here in the UK, they had to kind of change the rules around camping around the tents and stoves and what like, which for Camp Festival is a big thing because people come there. It's like a little holiday. They're camping out. They're bringing all their food with them. The hot dogs, the chili in a can. Can't think of what else I used to take with me. So quickly, they had to arrange kind of, group cooking areas, hot water taps for those with pot noodles. So yeah, it's tricky, right? But this is what those teams are there for, which is where their expertise lies, is to make sure that they've got all this planned out for every kind of expectation and anything that may happen, and then being able to execute it quickly. Yeah,
I mean, it's a logistical nightmare, the weather at the best of times, isn't it? But do you have to factor that into things when you're sort of planning the summer season, or you just leave that to the events themselves?
From a ticketing perspective, the way that we help and assist our clients when things like this happen is getting the message out. So, we have all, the purchasers information and contact details. So, we can email them, we can text them. And now with all the kind of integrations with the festival apps, push notifications out through there, encouraging people to download that festival app when they're buying their ticket or through their ticketing journey. So that's kind of how we assist, is kind of communicating that. And, a lot of work has gone into streamlining that and making it as efficient as possible.
Yeah, and the summer season is obviously absolutely booming, or seems to be at the top end. Any worries that climate change is going to affect that in the future? Is it going to be?
I think you have to consider it. I mean, again, I'm not a festival organizer, so can't speak to how they are planning that. But with anything, I think you have to consider what may happen and any eventualities, and make sure that you're prepared for it, for sure.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens in the future, but enjoy the sunshine for now. Our next story comes from Music Business Worldwide, which looks at the new proposed AI guidelines for music charts. Major and indie labels came together to propose rules around chart eligibility for AI-generated tracks, which will now be implemented across the charts that the IFPI controls. Under the rules, a recording made with AI would only qualify for the chart if it is substantially human-made, amongst other restrictions. Sarah, how do you, obviously you're in the live industry, but how do you feel about AI-generated music?
I mean, I can't speak to the music and recorded aspect of it. I suppose what I can speak to it is AI and how we see it as a technology company, which is, it creates huge opportunities, right? And we are using it across our business. But it also comes with a lot of responsibility, which is not, specifically a music industry thing or a live or a recorded industry thing. It's kind of, everyone as a whole. So I think it's great that, these global organizations and, the best, I'm sure, minds within the recorded world are all coming together to be able to create these guidelines and, take that responsibility. So it is great to see. And, we do all have to take on that responsibility of what new technology brings to us.
Yeah. I mean, if more and more AI is used in the production of music, is that going to have an effect on the live arena ultimately?
I don't think so. Live is all about experiencing that moment, and you just can't replace that. I mean, that is why the live industry is booming, as you said. Over this summer, we're at 450 outdoor events that we support across the summer. That's stadiums, the greenfield sites, the festivals, so it's just something that you can't replace. Like we spoke about it earlier, right? Going to Latitude with your family, going to a gig with your mates. A few weeks ago, I went to see Alanis Morissette at Crystal Palace Park. I went with, various groups of friends, mums that I've met through Henry going to school, my friends from dance college, which I'm sure we'll get onto, and, and then my best mate from kind of my raving days, Abby, and we, and just seeing, a record and Alanis, sing those songs that, we didn't even know each other when Jagged Little Pill came out. I know she's done other albums, but that is the most, the one that takes me back. So, just being able to experience it with people from all different walks of life, come together and experience live music, AI can't replace that.
We do have things like ABBA Voyage now, and there's other things coming. Is that going to be part of the live entertainment landscape, things like that, these sort of hologram shows, or maybe an AI artist can do a show like that in the future, can they? I
mean, have you seen ABBA Voyage? Sure, you have. Yeah. I spent the whole time that I was watching it, literally looking up and down, trying to figure out how they were doing it. Well, not the whole time. I then got encaptured with the whole moment. So I think it's brilliant what they're doing, and I'm sure that there will be other artists that you can do that with. But I think it has to be a certain artist, right? There has to be that catalogue there. There has to be, the ability to create that moment with the holograms. I don't think that replaces live. It's just another, like theatre. It's just another aspect of, something to go and watch and see.
Okay, well, sounds like the future is in safe hands.
Safe.
Good to know. Our final story this week comes from Music Week, which reports that Luke Combs has made country music history with his UK stadium tour. The country singer became the first from the genre to headline at Wembley Stadium, where he played 3 sold-out nights, while he also sold over 350,000 tickets across his UK and Island Run. Sarah, I was at one of Luke's Wembley shows and it was great, but lots of people did message me surprised that he was playing 3 nights at Wembley Stadium. Were you surprised as a ticket seller?
I mean, firstly, you're going to really annoy my partner, John, because we didn't get to go and he was desperate to go. And it was just one of the gigs that I just couldn't make happen, which I'm going to get told off about now. But
sorry, John.
Yeah. And it was great to work with AEG on the shows as well. We work really closely with those guys. So I think it shows, I think we're at 90 stadiums that Ticketmaster has supported this summer, which just shows the huge appetite there are for stadium shows. I think it's great that country music is having its moment. I'm a massive Yellowstone, Dutton Ranch fan, been dragging out my cowboy boots over the summer. So that I think it's great to see that these genres are able to draw in those stadium crowds. We're seeing it in other areas as well. So the Bad Bunny shows at Spurs, which were, again, another one that I missed. I literally don't know what I've been doing this summer. But anyway, Bad Bunny. And then we've got Diljit Dosanjh, at Wembley Stadium later on in September, who's the first Punjabi artist to headline Wembley. We had Arjit Singh last year at Spurs. So it's just great to see that, as well as all these big pop moments, again, with the Harry Styles sellout, 12 nights and those big moments, that, country, Latino with Bad Bunny and Punjabi with those artists are having their moments too.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that long ago that stadium shows were sort of the exclusive preserve of heritage rock acts, isn't it? So now is a stadium show attainable for all genres, all nationalities, do you think?
I think it's attainable for sure. I think that there's a journey there that the artist has to go through. Again, I'm, a ticket agent, don't work within the promoting or management or agent business. But I think, you build your audience to get there. And, and I think, with the shows that we've seen there, right, Harry had the massive stage with the running track going round, Bruno, that I saw you at, Bruno Mars, with, a completely different stage setting. So I think the opportunities and possibilities for artists that are able to fill those stadiums is really appealing to them because they can have that creativity and create these massive moments for their fans. Yeah.
And country music itself, are you seeing more and more tickets being sold in?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge genre, absolutely huge for us. And, we obviously had the State Fair as well this year that launched, which looked absolutely beautiful. So it'll be great to see what that does in future years. But yeah, country music is absolutely massive.
Okay, great stuff. And has anything caught your eye in the news this week?
So I really like to see every year the IQ new bosses list. I think it's a really good thing for the industry. It's really good to celebrate the young people that are coming through, the innovative ideas that they have. We've got Benji Stoll out of our North America Ticketmaster music team who made the list this year. And I love his analogy of how he kind of described the job that he does. So our Ticketmaster music teams, they are the ones that kind of look after all the global tours. So when the big shows come to town, they're the ones that are kind of looking after it, making sure it all goes well, making sure there's no issues. And the way that he described it was like being an air traffic controller. So, kind of monitoring all these different stakeholders to make sure the on-sale lands. So yeah, I really like that. Like he did, I think he led like the BST tour, the Ari Grande tour. So, these huge global tours that they're looking after is amazing. And then Katie Morgan from Legends, great to see her, Mancunian, love that girl. And, in previous kind of lists, I've had like Benita McKinney, who used to work for me at Ticketmaster, doing great work now within the label sphere. So one that has gone from live over to recorded.
Traitor.
And well, we'll allow her that little one. And then, one of my favourite stories is, Alfie Jeffries from the O2. I actually got him his first work experience within music management at Big Life, which I'm sure when we come on to that story, we'll get to. But the reason I knew Alfie and was able to get him that work experience is because he was best mates with one of the lads that I used to teach dancing to. So it was like these worlds have collided. When I see him at industry events, I'm like, all right. And it's like, we've known each other since, my dancing school days.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Well, thanks, Sarah. And don't forget, for even more music industry insight, sign up for the TMT newsletter at themoneytrench.com. But now it's time to talk to this week's guest, Sarah Slater of Ticketmaster UK. Sarah, you've been running Ticketmaster UK for almost a year now. How's it been?
Is it nearly a year?
Nearly a year in
Gosh,
September, I believe.
That has flown by. It's been great. I've obviously been with Ticketmaster for like 11 years, running by the end of it, the music and festival piece of it. So it's been great to be able to take a look at all the other kind of genres. Ticketmaster is huge. We have a huge music business, but we also have many other aspects to what we do. So, the attractions business that's ever growing, doing stuff like the Chimney at Battersea and Pixar, just by Wembley. So being able to look at those kind of genres and how they differ from the music world. And then, genres where we are a challenger as well. So like the theatre business, we do sell theatre tickets. If anybody didn't know that, Ticketmaster does do theatre. So looking at that and, music, we are, market leader. We do what we do. We're excellent. The teams are amazing at what they do to deliver that music business. But sometimes it's nice to look at these other genres where we're not so big and we are a challenger and be a bit creative about how we approach that. So I've enjoyed doing that. And I just really enjoy just being able to lead the teams. Like, I am a people person. That's a bit that I love. So being able to work across not just the music and festival teams, but the rest of the business has been amazing.
Yeah. It's a big responsibility to be in charge of that many tickets, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a big job. It's a big
But you've got the sort of hopes and dreams of the nation in your hands.
We have, and that's why we have to be the best that we can be to deliver those hopes and dreams.
And is that stressful?
Yeah, I mean, it can be, but it can also be amazing, right? Like, what other job do you get to call going to a festival part of your job, or a stadium gig part of your job, or being able to sit with amazing people and come up with brilliant ideas of marketing campaigns, and then also, like, the product side of it. I'm operational at heart, so being able to still be, I get told off for being too in the weeds of it sometimes. That's one thing I've had to learn, is kind of like pull myself out of those weeds a little bit. But, I do, it sounds sad, but I love tickets and I love this business and I love the teams that we work with. So yes, it can be stressful. But then the other thing that you have at Ticketmaster is you do have this great team around you, and it is super stressful, but we all carry each other through.
And you're dealing with promoters, obviously.
Yes.
Who are occasionally volatile group of people. How's that?
I cut my teeth in this industry, which I'm sure will come onto the journey, but working with the likes of Jazz Summers, Harvey Goldsmith, I just do your worst is sometimes what I think, right? And
don't say that.
No, a lot of people do think I've got Teflon skin, is what people say. So, and it's the reason why people are passionate, right? And people within the music industry are passionate, and you have to understand that. We're the gateway as well, right? And we have kind of two bosses at Ticketmaster, and within ticketing, you've got kind of two bosses. You've got the promoters or the event organizer, or whoever that may, the stakeholders of the tour, and then you've got the fans, right? So we need to deliver for both of those aspects of our business, and that's just what we need to keep focused on.
Who's more important?
Equal importance.
Very diplomatic. Well, let's talk about the live circuit. So the latest Live Nation figures came out a while back, showed business is booming, isn't it? Your life must be so easy right now. Everything's selling. No. I mean, it is great. Business is booming. It is not without its challenges. Everything, I think what a lot of the tours that hit the headlines are the ones that do sell out, and the tours that come to town that we've kind of spoken about, and those big festival moments. Behind the scenes, we're doing everything that we can, using AI, using technology to be able to deliver for the rest of the business. So there's kind of two aspects to it. It's delivering the huge grade A, AAA on sale, and making sure that lands for everyone, making sure you deliver for fans, you deliver for your clients, and that's a big part of the job, those massive, huge on sales. But there's also all the work
that goes behind the scenes in kind of like discoverability. So making sure that, those other shows and those, local venues and stuff get as much profile and, as accessible to fans and as much the marketing power that we have, we're able to use that for those tours and venues as well.
Yeah. I mean, the last few years have been, particularly in the summer, been massive, haven't they? We have Oasis and Taylor and Coldplay and Dua Lipa, all these people coming through. But it somehow seems to keep growing. Can it keep growing from where we are now?
I think so. Like we talked about, right? You can't replace live. And, we've spoken about all these genres that are coming through, the country, the Punjabi, the Latino, like you're living in this global world now, right? Where, especially with Spotify and with streaming, everyone's got access to so much music, right? And such different music that, okay, you might not grow your massive pop acts, of course, well, there's going to be new artists coming in, but I think the growth comes from, other genres and, what is next? What is the next country? What is the next Punjabi? Like, what is coming next? And that's when you get those big live moments that everybody just wants to be part of.
Is there a ceiling on it? Just simply due to the amount of stadium dates available, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, that is your ceiling, right? Yeah. You can't build another stadium. Well, I'm sure you can build another stadium, but not within 12 months. So yeah, I mean, that is the ceiling. But then you look at then the promoters are being creative and looking at what else they can do. Okay, so all the work that Cuff and Taylor have been doing, around all the kind of regional shows that they do. Last year I went to like Will Smith at Scarborough Open Air Theatre. I mean, who thought that Will Smith would ever go to Scarborough? But he had a fab time. But that was a great show. And they've got Blackweir Park, they've got Cardiff, they've got there's just these green fields across the country that you can make a live moment in it. So yes, all right. For stadium shows, there's the cap of the number of dates available, but that doesn't mean that every live moment has to be in a stadium. There's plenty of other places that you can create them.
Yeah, fair point. And this sort of boost to international acts, is that a threat to UK acts, or are you seeing them do just as many massive shows as they have in the past?
I don't think it is. I mean, you would have to look at the data but narratively and thinking about it, you've got like Olivia Dean having her huge moment at the moment. So, I think we do have to support UK artists, and I think that we do have to support, that funnel through up to the top, with grassroots venues, with supporting new music and all the work around that. So you have to support that, but, we're just as good as everywhere else, right? So better.
Some would say.
Yeah.
But and at the same time as all this success, we've also had the so-called blue dot fever phenomenon. Tours not selling. Is that real?
I no. I mean, obviously there are going to be some shows that don't sell. I mean, everyone would be a promoter, right? If every show was going to sell out, we'd all be promoters. So I think it was like 1% or less than 1% of shows got cancelled last year. So, we have to support these artists as they're going through their journey. Not everyone is going to sell out a show, right? Some artists, that's not their strategy. Their aim is not to sell out the show. Their aim is just to have, a certain amount of audience, to build their audience, to then be able to get to the level of selling out the show next time and building the data and building the audience and building that fan base. So, I think it's blue dot fever is just something created for a media moment.
Okay, that pesky media.
I know.
Have you thought about changing the colour of the dots just to confuse people?
We could do. Could have a bit of fun with that. No, we wouldn't do that.
Fair enough. And we're in festival season, obviously. How are festivals doing? Because I guess it's harder for festivals when they're competing against all these other massive shows. We didn't used to have that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from our viewpoint, from what I can see, from what we sell, they're definitely still as strong as they have ever been. We've had a fantastic festival season, and still many more to come with the bank holiday weekend coming out. So we did like the study last year, like the Ticketmaster State of Play report on festivals, and that came up with some really good insight that there's a lot of families, we spoke about Camp Festival earlier, like there's a lot of families that see festivals as their holidays now, like we do. We're not going away this summer. We went away in May. Latitude was our summer holiday. We went down on the Thursday night. We did end up coming back on the Sunday, but that's a different story. But, the plan was to stay to the Monday and have a whole camping weekend. So, you've got that audience that are going to that. You've got, the rise in the solo attendee that we looked at when we did the study last year. A lot more people going to these festivals solo. A lot of the festival organisers are really leaning into that as well. Reading and Leeds have like the campsites for the solo attendees now. So there's a lot of creativity within the festival space. And, the guys and the gals that run it are amazing. And they're constantly looking at how they evolve that experience. I think Camp Festival had a new campsite this year, and, constantly evolving is what the festivals need to do and do.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, let's talk about the rest of the pyramid, because obviously you've got all this success at the top. Does the proliferation of big gigs at the top affect sales further down the pyramid?
I don't think so. I mean, it's very important that we support the grassroots venues and the smaller independent local venues. And, I've worked with Mark David and Bev for Music Venues Trust since I was at Ticketmaster, since I've been there. We've had a great working relationship since like 2015. At Ticketmaster, we support those venues. We did the first ever kind of grassroots venues specific ticketing deal back in 2016 with MVT. So where we were able to look at the grassroots venues as a whole and be able to give them a really kind of, good ticketing deal that was able to put more money back into those venues. We've been the main sponsor of Venues Day since 2017, I think. So it's really important that we support the grassroots venues with that, as well as, we've touched on it before, like making sure that we're doing everything that we can to support those venues as well by using our, the marketing power and all the eyes that we have on our marketplace to be able to promote those venues and upcoming artists as much as we can. So we have a dedicated clubs team now, Ticketmaster Clubs. We also have a kind of landing destination page called Ticketmaster Local. And we're constantly looking at ways that we can make sure that that's presented to fans. So as they're coming, looking for the stadium show or the arena tour, we're presenting them with these other options as well. So that's how we can help.
Do you have any data on whether those people will buy a grassroots ticket as well as a stadium ticket? I
mean, we could and can look at that. I haven't got that to hand, but we should definitely look at that. And I think with the advent of AI, I think that presents a lot more opportunities as well. There's a lot of people that are searching for events in different ways. So, where before they just used to be going onto Google going, I don't know, Ariana Grande, tour tickets. Now they're going and they're doing more kind of like agentic search terms such as, find me a gig under 50 quid within 5 miles of my house, right? And with that way of search, we can present much more options to enable them to be able to then make a choice. So our responsibility with that is making sure that our site and our marketplace is built correctly to be able to, for those AI agents to be able to pull that information out.
Yeah. We've had the grassroots levy for a while now. Ticket buyers in this country better than anyone.
Yeah.
How do ticket buyers feel about the grassroots levy?
I mean, we've not had any negativity come in via our channels about it at all. I think it's really important and it's a great strategy for raising cash for the venues. Harry Styles did it across the 12 Wembley dates, which I'm sure I could do the maths, but I won't on a podcast. But
£750,000
quid. There you go, £750,000 from one stadium tour. So it's great, and just great to see these initiatives being rolled out.
Yeah, is it having an effect yet? Are you seeing that money sort of help further down the pyramid?
I have not. I'm not involved in the way that is distributed, but I've definitely seen the news of how that is being sent out, and it'll be great to see some of the projects and initiatives that do come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of shows still don't feature it.
It's the artist's choice whether they add that levy, and it's great to see so many artists already doing so.
Would you like to see more do it though? Would you like to see it on every ticket that you sell?
It's not my decision, right?
I know it isn't, but would you personally like to?
I mean, I'm a great supporter of grassroots venues. And I think there's lots of ways that you can support them. The levy's just one.
Okay. Very diplomatic. You're so diplomatic, Sarah, aren't you? Well, let's talk about ticket prices. Now, I know you don't set the ticket prices, right?
I'm glad you took that line off me, Mark.
Yeah. But how do you feel about where they are right now?
I mean, touring is hugely expensive, right? When the show comes to town, there are so many costs that have to be factored into that ticket price. Again, I'm not a promoter. That's not my skill set. But, they're looking at the costs, what that tour costs to put on, what that show costs to put on, and they work back from that. It's also, as we all know, many artists, the majority of artists' main income. So we also have to recognise that. And then, ticketing and pricing specifically is becoming a lot more sophisticated. There's a lot more, I can remember you used to do a stadium show or an arena show and there'd be 3 price levels, right? And that's just what you used to build. Easy, well, not easy peasy, but easier than it is now, where you can be building a stadium show and an arena show with 15, 16, 17 price points. Again, I'm not the artist, I'm not the promoter, but I would expect that what the artist is trying to do there and what the tour stakeholders are trying to do is they're trying to get those accessible ticket prices in the lower end to be able, and then those, the smaller minority of those heftier prices are then supporting the ability for them to give those accessible ticket prices. So yeah, pricing has become a lot more sophisticated and a lot more complex. And, our job as a ticket agent is to make sure that we're being as transparent as we can, right? So now, if you are in a queue for an on sale, we put those ticket prices in the queue. So, and if those queues are a little bit longer, majority of queues don't last longer than 5 minutes, but where it is a very popular show and those queues are lasting a bit longer, we'll update that and we'll update inventory. So that's our role as a ticket agent, is to try and make it as transparent as we can for fans.
And is that what came in after the Oasis tour incident?
We did it straight after Oasis. So the next shows that went on sale after Oasis, we were already doing that. You recognise things, you learn from things, and we actioned it. So we've been doing that since the Oasis shows, yeah.
What did you learn from that whole incident? Because I guess, again, you're not necessarily in control of what's happening, but you are the ones administering it, right?
Yeah, a lot. And you learn every day, right? Everyone in this industry has to be learning every day because everything's moving so quickly and technology's moving so quickly. So yeah, we learned a lot, and and again, as you say, we can't control everything. We can control what we control. And we come in every day to try and make that fan experience better, right? That's what everyone at Ticketmaster is focused on, is coming in, trying to make that fan experience better. And our clients, tooling and all that kind of stuff, because they're equally as important, as we touched on earlier. But, we're really focused on making that fan experience better. And, all the stuff that we have been doing around queue messaging, we've had like a new kind of countdown page launch recently because, one of the frustrations that we did get feedback from on fans is all about the number of pre-sales there are now, right? There are a lot of pre-sales, artist pre-sales, sponsor pre-sales, promoter pre-sales, Ticketmaster pre-sales. So these pages now that we have live on these tours are able to show fans which pre-sales coming up and how they get access to it. So if it's an O2 pre-sale, for example, it'll say you need to be an O2 member, and maybe we link off to O2 and people can do that. Or you need to be a member of the artist mailing list, and there's a link off to be able to sign up to the artist mailing list. So that's where our responsibility lies, is listening to fan feedback, industry feedback, and using our tech and our expertise and our fabulous teams to be able to deliver what we can to make that better.
Yeah. Now, the inquiry actually found that dynamic pricing wasn't used on Oasis. Do you ever use it in the UK?
We do not use surge or algorithmic pricing. Nope.
Okay. That's nice and easy for you then. Do people want to use it? Do you find people asking if they can?
It is used elsewhere within ticketing. So theatre use it a lot, dynamic pricing. But we have a lot of what we are able to do for our clients is we have a lot of insight. We have a lot of data around pricing and around, previous pricing. We're able to share that in a way to our clients, can then use it to be able to make pricing decisions.
Okay. I mean, Ticketmaster does get quite a lot of flack for stuff that isn't necessarily down to you. Do you mind that?
I mean, it's hard, right? To be honest, it is hard. It's one of the things as a leader, especially, with some of these big moments that are created, that you have to lead teams through and keep teams motivated through. And it is, it can be tricky to explain, but I think, we all know we are really good at what we do. I know that my team are really good at what they do. I know the whole Ticketmaster team are really good at what we do. And we just have to focus on that. And like I said, delivering the best service that we can, both to clients and fans. And I know a lot of that is ignoring the noise. There's a lot of, group company-wide messages that I've sent out on a number of occasions that just ignore the noise, keep your head down, crack on.
Fair enough. And perhaps the only people who get more stick than Ticketmaster in the ticketing world are secondary ticketers. Were you disappointed that the government didn't bring in the legislation that we were expecting?
Yeah, very disappointed. We've been very vocal about our want and our support of it. We've shown that it works. We've been capping resale prices since 2018 on Ticketmaster UK. So we've shown that the concept can work. While you keep this massive incentive to the touts of this big pile of money there, then they're going to do whatever they can to get their hands on that cash to line their own pockets, right? And we get hit by billions, and I think 200 billion bots last year, 20 billion a month, like ridiculous numbers. And 200 billion bots last year, which is four times more than 2022. So it's like it's not going away, it's getting worse. And it's where a lot of our focus is how do we battle these bots every day? And we do it by tech, we do it by product, we do it by our fabulous teams. But until you remove that incentive, they're just going to keep hitting us. And the people that affects are the fans and the fan experience. And it affects the artists because they're the ones creating these live moments, and that money should be going to them, not to the touts.
Yeah. Well, so are you hoping the legislation is going to be revived? Now we've got a new Prime Minister.
We've got a music fan Prime Minister, haven't we?
Yeah,
so, yes.
Apparently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens with that. But let's talk about you. Because you didn't really plan to be in the music industry, certainly in your current sort of role, did you? You were going to be a dancer.
Yeah, I
think you're the first dancer we've had on the show.
Oh, really? Interesting. There's a few more out there, I'm sure. Like, I didn't know the music industry existed. I didn't even know this world existed, right? I was brought up in a working class family from Manchester. We listened to music. We know that my mum and dad went to gigs like before I was born, but we didn't have the experience as my Henry has now of going everywhere and everywhere. So we weren't a musical family. Yeah, I wanted to be a dancer. Tap dancing was my speciality. So yeah, I went to dance college. Didn't go to uni. Went to dance college, and then I was injured. I'd gone back to the dance college that I trained at, and I was teaching there. I also ended up running kind of like and developing their kind of outreach programs. It's where we were kind of using dance and going out to all the local schools to be able to encourage them to get into dance and using it as kind of, a way to bring people together. So I was doing that. And then I was running the kids show there, which we had a big theatre school as well as the dance college, a big theatre school, shout out Bodywork in Cambridge. Doesn't even exist anymore as that name, but anyway. And yeah, I was running the kids show, so 500 under 16s across a whole week of rehearsals, dress rehearsals, with tap shoes on their feet. So yeah, it was a very logistical nightmare.
Festivals must be a breeze.
Exactly, right? And I was running that, and I'd got good friends with one of the dads whose two daughters I taught dance. And anyway, we got chatting, ended up going out for a couple of drinks, going around for dinner for theirs. Great couple. And he happened to run a ticketing company. So he ran and owned and developed Trinity Street, which was the first kind of direct-to-artist ticketing platform. And, we were chatting over a glass or two of vino one night, and he was just like, you should come and work for me. And I was like, what? And he was like, you should just come and work for me. You're organised. I can't remember what he said. It might have been more than 2 glasses of wine. But, and I just kind of went, all right. Like, I love dancing, but it's a hard life. Like, you're going into those auditions, you're getting cut down. I mean, that's what I think that helped with my resilience, right? Because when you're walking into an audition room, and in that day and age, you're being told you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too tall, you know, your feet are too big. You know, you're being told all these ridiculous reasons of not to get a job. That does build some kind of resilience. And I think that dancing built my work ethic as well. So I just went, okay, I'll go for the interview and don't tell anyone that you know me. And if I get the job, yeah, I'll come and work for you. And I did. I got the job as an account manager at Trinity Street. And there the ticketing journey started.
Yeah. And Trinity Street was, I mean, it was ahead of its time, wasn't it?
I mean, all the concepts that we kind of looked at Trinity Street, which was that direct relationship between the fan and the artist, are as prevalent today as they were, 20 years ago. So yeah, I mean, and it was the with Trinity Street, it was very much focused then working with the labels. They would get the kind of pre-sale allocation from the likes from the ticket agents, and you know, they would sell it directly through the artist's website. We sold merch. The big sell was that you could put a CD, a ticket, and a T-shirt into one basket. Those were the days.
Love a bundle. And yeah, they created this concept. You know, we did the fan clubs. We did Robbie Williams' fan club. I then, when I started, kind of looked to develop it outside of that traditional kind of label route. So I ended up running like the Mighty Boosh fan club. And with Global Gathering, I was Global Gathering's account manager. I was a Ibiza Rocks account manager, which is quite funny because now Shane Murray, who used to run Ibiza Rocks, is now at Live Nation. So I'm just like, we've known each other for years, and I've gone from being his like account manager up to the relationship that we have now. And we kind of developed that. I ended up, you know, using, and that's where I kind of got this, you know, I can be creative when I want to be. So I kind of like took the concept of what there was at Trinity Street, and between us, we kind of built that out to be more than just music. So we ended up working with brands, with the festivals, with the comedians. And yeah, so I did that. Then when Trinity Street finished, I went into fashion e-commerce for a while, just because there was someone stood outside the door of Trinity Street going, does any of you want a job? And I was like, yeah, got rent to pay. Well, Trinity Street went bust in quite spectacular fashion, didn't it?
Spectacular, yeah. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs. I mean, it was a long time ago, and I can just remember going to the pub and, you know, sitting in the pub on Mortimer Street for about 8 hours with everyone from Trinity Street. Just, I mean, you know, but everyone's gone on to do, you know, loads of things in the music industry at Trinity Street. So, and like we said, the concept is still here today, right? So what they were doing was right. Maybe it wasn't the right time.
Often the way in the music business. So yes, you worked in fashion a while, and then you came back to the music world.
Came back
and worked with Jazz Summers.
I did. So that came about because I had a fabulous boss at Trinity Street, a lady called Katie Ray. He's now doing amazing things within the podcast world. And she had been asked by an American company to kind of replicate what Trinity Street did. I think it was only like about 12 months after we'd finally, you know, Trinity Street had finally ended, because there was a lot of kind of trying to bring the concepts back over a period of time. So it was about 12 months after Trinity Street ended, and she rang me up and she was like, look, there's this American company, I need to build a team, will you come and work with me and Phil? And she was working out of Jazz Summers' office. I believe that Jazz was an investor within this American company. You know, he was all about his artists. I'm sure anyone who worked with him knew. So he loved the Trinity Street concept and loved the idea. So yeah, he had this American company, and then we worked for this American company for a few months, and then it was like an on sale was going to happen, this fan club on sale, and we just knew that it was going to go wrong. Like, you know, the Americans, you know, not really, the tech wasn't really supportive of what the artist was trying to achieve. So I kind of went to Jazz, because we got quite close at this time, and said, look, this is all going to go tits up, basically, but this is what we're going to do. I ended up working like customer services, email, for like, there was only like 3 of us in this team, like 24 hours of answering fan emails. And kind of after that on sale, he came to me and went, look, we don't need this company. Like, I believe in you. I think that you can do this. And he said, I will invest in you. You set up a company, you find the right tech, you build a team, and you go and do it. And so, yeah, we set up Over 9, which is a weird name, but comes from Jazz's love of numerology. And he worked out my birth date, and my birth date, which I can't remember now, is something over 9. And the over 9 part of numerology is all about entrepreneurship and creativity. And I couldn't think of anything better. So we went with Over 9. But yeah, like Jazz, yeah. So
apart from numerology, what did you learn from working with Jazz? Because he was quite a character, wasn't he?
God, everything. Like, again, resilience and being able to deal with characters. But he opened up so many doors for me. Like what started out as delivering kind of that direct-to-fan concept for his artists, so like LaRue, Charlatans, many, many more. He introduced me to Harvey Goldsmith, a load of people within the music industry. But I mean, Harvey was probably the biggest door that he opened. I ended up so we went from doing the websites and the pre-sales and all that kind of stuff with his artists to, by the end of it, I ended up doing the Chime for Change gig at Twickenham with Beyonce. Like, I ran the whole ticket. We didn't do it for our own system. That's where I went into Ticketmaster and see tickets and went, help. But, I was running all that. We brought the Crazy Horse girls over from Paris and did Forever Crazy on the South Bank for 3 months. We did the Jubilee party in the park with Sainsbury's. So, yeah, he opened so many doors. He definitely, just how to deal with people and just the passion and just that you can, anything that you put your mind to, you can do. Like, he just went, you can do this. And suddenly I was doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, just that complete faith. If he had faith in you, and Tim Parry as well from Big Life and the whole Big Life team, if they had this complete faith that I could do it, and that just makes then you believe that you can do it. And as long as you're kind of fearless and take those opportunities, you can. You just need to have that can-do attitude, I think. And like I said, the work ethic, one of the reasons we stopped Over 9 was because I just burnt out. So yeah, it was a hard slog for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. How did you deal with that?
Got pretty ill, but completely burnt out. And I think it got to a point where, at this point, Jazz was poorly as well. And we just kind of collectively decided that we'd made our mark. We'd proven that it could be done, because we had done. And I wanted out of ticketing, which seems a bit weird now, because as you said earlier, it's very stressful. So I was just like, I'm ready for something else. I'm ready for a different challenge. And yeah, I went off and went into sales. I went into tech sales for 2 years until again.
The famously not high-pressured world of sales.
Yeah, mate, it was the best 2 years ever. Like, I had a ball. All you've got to do is sell some tech. No on sales, no multiple stakeholders, just go out and sell something. So I did that for a while and then, got dragged back into ticketing.
Yeah, so you came to Ticketmaster, which is obviously much bigger than the companies you'd worked at previously. Was it a very different world to step into?
At the start, it wasn't. I mean, I came back into Ticketmaster. I was actually selling the tech that I was selling into Ticketmaster, and I was selling it into Sam Isles, who's now a great friend and has been a brilliant mentor. And she was just like, you need to come back into ticketing. Like, you need to come back into this world. And I did go and interview for the business development director job for comedy and theatre and dramatically failed at that interview because my knowledge, even though I'm a dancing girl, my knowledge of that world is very limited. It's better now that I've been in the role for 12 months. But at that time, it was very, very limited. And then Andrew Parsons was made MD. So his role that he used to have, which was a kind of, the sales role within music, became available. And I was brought in as director of business development and, tasked with competing in this the really competitive world at that point, which it still is now of ticketing and going out selling Ticketmaster to everyone and everywhere. And so at that point it was a sales job, right? That's what I was doing. It was kind of not different to what I'd been doing previously. I was using my knowledge of ticketing and technology to go out and sell Ticketmaster. So at that point it was quite similar. But yeah, I mean, my background is in startups and in tech. And, applying that to that world was fine for those first few years and continued to be so. But I've been at Ticketmaster for, as we said, for 11 years. So my role developed into much more, which then, yes, you are becoming more of that corporate world.
Yeah. Well, you've worked your way up, but I guess fundamentally it's all about selling tickets. isn't it? And those it must be quite a buzz when you've got those big on sale days, isn't it?
I mean, fundamentally, it's all about selling tickets, but ticketing is not as simple as people think. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. It's complicated. It's a mixture of tech and having the right tech and having the right teams and having the right knowledge and the expertise and being able to be calm under pressure, being that air traffic controller between multiple stakeholders. So yeah, in the end of the day, it's all about selling tickets. But I think sometimes there can be a lack of appreciation about how complicated that can be.
Has it ever gone badly wrong?
I mean, in my past life, there's been a couple of errors which I'm sure we'll touch on the mistakes. But yeah, I mean, things do go wrong, and that can be, any stakeholder's fault, and it's how you react, and it's when we were talking about festivals, it's all like you're always planning for something to go wrong. You're always thinking, what if? And it's having the expertise and the knowledge and the past experiences to make sure that you're not ever put in that position.
Okay. And what's next? So I imagine you must already be thinking ahead to not even just next summer, but probably the summer beyond.
Yeah, I mean, we're always thinking forward. We've got a new global president, Saumil Mehta, who's come over from Square. He's very product and technology focused. Obviously, we've touched on AI before. So it's much looking at how this technology can help us build better tools, how we can make events more discoverable. So you're always pre-planning, season to season. But for us, we are predominantly a tech company. That's what we are. So for us, we're always looking about, like, where does the tech go next? How can we improve the tech? So that it's a continuous cycle of improvement.
And I mean, there's talk of a possible competition inquiry into the UK live industry. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I can speak about it from a Ticketmaster experience, and I just know that, I started off in the sales team at Ticketmaster. I've been in that sales team. I am still the sales team at Ticketmaster, right? That's kind of, it's everyone's job in any company to be that sales team. We're going up against everyone every day, whether that's to win the contract, to win the deal. But then, we are in an allocation market in the UK as well. So even when you go on sale, you're fighting for those tickets every day. So from my perspective, it's hugely competitive within the ticketing world.
Yeah. And in terms of the live music thing, do you think this sort of bubble, is it ever going to burst, or is live music always going to be as popular or more popular as it is now?
I think it's always going to be popular. Like we said, you can't replace that moment of being in a field, in a stadium, at your local venue. Like, I'm sure we've all had countless moments that you would never be able to replace. So I don't think it's definitely not going away.
Okay. And what's next for you? Strictly?
What? Well, yes, please. Who do we get on the phone for that? I don't know. I haven't danced for years. Maybe going back to a dance class would be the first step.
You're not busting out superior moves that music industry does to make everyone else look like a terrible dancer?
There is a funny story, actually. So the first time I met Peter Taylor was at the bar at ILMC, back in the old haunt, not the new haunt. And I'd never met him before. And he's Amdram, so his background is amateur dramatics. And, he's got a pair of shuffling feet on him. And there's a tap dance move called a time step. And there's lots of different versions of time steps. And they get more complicated the more that you move up. And we were having a time step competition, I think at about 3 a.m. in the hotel bar. So
please tell me there's video footage.
Do you know what? It could have been before camera phones.
Oh, disappointing. But thanks, Sarah. Please stick around for latest or greatest, which is coming right up. If you're enjoying The Money Trench, supported by SOUNDON and TIXEL, please give us a rating or review on your podcast platform of choice, as it really does help us keep making this podcast. But now it's time for our quickfire round with our guest, Sarah Slater of Ticketmaster UK. Sarah, this is called Latest or Greatest. You can decide to talk about either the most recent or the all-time best music biz thing that you've experienced in these categories. And we start with the latest or greatest record that you've bought.
So, as we've kind of touched on, I wasn't kind of a music industry, music was a big part of my life growing up, but through dance.
Yeah.
So, and, I'm very busy. I have a brain that works in very strange ways sometimes. So I'm not a massive consumer of albums. So I will have like music on as in the background and stuff. If you ask me what my favourite history podcast was, then that's probably, my specialist subject. But what I did love was the Lily Allen West End Girl. That is the one, the last album that I kind of downloaded and got obsessed with, I'd say.
Brilliant record. The latest or greatest gig or festival that you've been to? So this must be a tough one.
It is a tough one. So I'm going to go with latest because there are so many. And Wilderness on Sunday was just out of this world amazing. Annie Lennox curated a set of female artists for her charity, The Circle, and then performed herself. Jessie Ware, Last Dinner Party came on. Like, it was just amazing. Henry was there with me. We had some friends from back home. And then, actually, do you know what was amazing? Was there was a boy with us that was a friend of a friend's son. They kind of 14-year-old didn't want to go on his own, so he brought a mate. And this lad, I don't know, was just so enthralled by it all. So when you're seeing, Henry is great and he loves live music and he absolutely obsessed with it and has a great time, but he gets to experience it a lot. So that was amazing, just seeing, a young lad that has never really experienced live music, or especially in the middle of a field in Oxfordshire, experience that was really special.
Yeah, fantastic. Your latest or greatest music biz boss?
I'm going to have to cheat here because there's a few, because I've moved around a little bit. But so I'm going to cheat. Okay. So Andrew Murray, because without him, I'd still be teaching toddler ballet on a Saturday. Gosh knows where I would be without tickets, right? So Andrew Murray, gotta be jazz. He just taught me everything and opened so many doors and, was the most amazing person ever. So jazz. And then I've got to say Andrew Parsons, because he's still my boss, has been my boss for 11 years and has completely supported me through, my 11-year career at Ticketmaster. So, yeah, I had to cheat on that one because there's 3.
Fair enough. A good 3.
Good 3.
We'll let you off. The latest or greatest mistake that you've made?
So we're going to go back a bit. We're going to go back to the Trinity Street days, and it wasn't really my mistake. But just, I can remember it was a family brand event at Milton Keynes Bowl. We'd gone on sale. We'd sold out. Well, we thought we sold out. And, the client had even come. We had an office in central London. The client had come with champagne. We were cracking it open at 11 a.m, celebrating, selling out these 3 days of family events. And then suddenly because at Trinity Street, you built the ticketing system for the event. So it wasn't like Ticketmaster. It wasn't, a marketplace. You built bespoke ticketing systems. All of a sudden, I saw this panicked face coming out of the technology room and beckoning me over. And he went, we forgot to switch on the basket functionality. So what that meant is, in ticketing, you have this kind of basket functionality. You'll have seen the countdown timers on the checkout. So it holds those tickets. And if you don't purchase them, it releases them back on sale. They'd forgotten to do the bit where it releases them back on sale. So where we'd thought that we'd sold out, there was actually thousands of tickets still not sold that were in baskets. And the worst bit of this was, it was this family event. It was pre the days of I think MySpace might have been there, but it was the period of Mumsnet. And those mums were not taking any prisoners. I think my number got out there, and it was just terrible because we didn't have the tech that we had these days where we could identify who had been in the queue and maybe gone out to them and said, do you want these tickets? I don't even know how we did it. I think it was the customer services in Leighton Spa were literally going through, ringing people up, going, do you want 2 tickets or whatever? And it was just horrific. It was the first time I'd ever been through something like that. And like I said, there was an amazing support at Trinity Street, but it wasn't the scale of Ticketmaster is. So, you were kind of just trying to piece together, unpick all these errors yourself. And there's a lasting memory of it because it was back in 2007, 2008 when they were doing the Google Street View cameras. And for many years, there was a picture of me outside smoking a fag. It's back in the day when I used to smoking a fag on Mortimer Street in this, the most stressed I've ever been in my life. So yeah, that always sticks out but also because we got through it and we did the show and we got through it.
Did it sell out properly in the end?
Yeah. I don't know how, but because it's a bit of a blur. but we got there.
Fair enough. Never mess with the Mumsnet mums.
No.
The latest or greatest artist you've worked with? I guess you're not working directly with artists, but...
No, we're not working directly with the artists, but I suppose one that kind of like stands out with the kind of journey that we've been on with them is Ed Sheeran. Like working, with the teams around him, from... I can remember doing the outdoor shows, kind of Roundhay, Leeds, and there was a couple of other venues, but it was Leeds one that I was at that was using kind of our paperless ticketing technology. I'm sure everyone's aware of how passionate Ed and his team are around, ticket touting and making sure that those tickets are getting into the hands of fans at the price that he wants them to be sold at. So, we've worked with them across all the tours to try and achieve what Ed wants to achieve. And, those first, who wasn't the first big tours, but those outdoor tours, we used paperless ticketing. Don't know whether you remember it. It was like these bus conductor machines. So you bought your ticket on Ticketmaster and then you never actually got a ticket. You'd bring your credit card that you paid for the ticket on, and then you'd put it into this machine and it'd spout out a ticket before you entered the event. So we did that with him to do it. And then, the next time he came around, digital ticketing was there. And they tasked us, a team tasked us with, this is what we want to do with digital ticketing. A lot of that technology didn't exist. We had to build it specifically for that tour, us along with other ticket agents. But then a lot of the principles that the team wanted us to apply to that tour is what we kind of use today, like with the account verification and, what do you call it, one-time code that gets text. So with those Ed shows, before you downloaded your ticket, we sent a code to everyone that they had into their phone that they had to put it in. So it kind of linked the account that you purchased the ticket with the account you were downloading the ticket with, which is now the backbone of what we do and how we try and stop fraudulent tickets and ticket touting.
Yeah. The latest or greatest music industry party that you've been to? I do see you out at a few parties.
Yeah, I've calmed down a little bit. I've had to. I've got a big job now. But I think that Chris Edmonds. So Chris Edmonds was managing director before Andrew Parsons. There was someone else in between, but I've known Chris for many years. He's been a massive big supporter of mine and of my career in Ticketmaster. And we had his retirement party a couple of weeks ago, which was lovely because you just heard so many stories from so many people. Like, he was Ticketmaster boss during the 2012 Olympics. There was lots of stories coming out of that. And, there's a great picture of me, Andrew, Chris, and the name escapes me, of another managing director from days gone by that, we got this picture of us all together. So, yeah, that was a great party.
Okay, fantastic. And we can't let you go without giving us a new music tip. You're out at gigs a lot. Are you sort of across new artists? Is there something you particularly like?
So this is how, we touched on before, I don't really listen to a lot of music kind of, intently. So where I discover new artists is out at gigs. So Girl in the Year Above. So my partner was playing the album all the time. And, again, for some reason, I just don't absorb music in that way. But then we went to see them live at Isle of Wight, and that was absolutely spectacular. And now I'm just obsessed. Like there's just something magical and, ethereal about her voice and the band. So definitely that one.
Well, former TMT tips.
Yes.
Girl in the Year Above. Excellent choice. But that, sadly, is all we have time for. So a big thank you to our guest, the incredible Sarah Slater, Ticketmaster UK. Thanks very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome. The Money Trench, the music industry podcast with me, Mark Sutherland, is supported by SOUNDON on TIXEL and in support of Percent. It's produced by Tape Notes and exec produced by Mike Walsh. A huge thanks to Sennheiser, The Fourth Pillar, and our friends at DV8 Digital for our social media. The Money Trench music is by the brilliant Tom A. Smith, and to get in touch with us, please email mike@themoneytrench.com. Thanks this week to TYX Studios for their beautiful podcast studio and facilities. TYX Studios provides premium podcasting studio facilities and production assistance right in the heart of London. Check them out at tyxstudios.com. We're in peak summer holiday season, but there is still stuff going on if you're stuck in the office. There's a new Abbey Road photo exhibition. There's a David Bowie King's Cross Summer Sounds launch. Boomtown Festival is on. Jimmy Eat World play Bleed American in full at Crystal Palace Bowl. And there are big gigs for EXO, Hollywood Vampires, Bastille, Moby, The Weeknd and Ariana Grande. And even TMT joins the holiday exodus, which means no new episode on Monday. But please do check out the 102 episodes in our archive, and we'll be back with another brand new edition on Monday, August the 24th. We will see you then. Sarah, thanks for coming on the show, and enjoy the rest of the summer of live.
Thank you.
Cheers.